I swear, the more stuff I see in 2020, from pandemics to rioting to just everyone losing their mind on things that make no sense so they can try and make themselves sound smart. I swear, 2020 has revealed itself to be the simulation, and right now, it's like playing GTA San Andreas with all the cheats turned on at the same time. So I daily go through my list of news sources, which are mostly left-wing because I need to know what they're saying. And I came across this and I dug down the rabbit hole and wow, what do I even say? A New York Times book review of The Tragedy of Heterosexuality. And you know, seeing how millennials turned out, they might have a point. Now I could have looked at other books like In Defense of Looting or My Fragility or something more prominent and rage-inducing, but I wanted to do something funny this time because when I saw this, it was pretty funny. So no rage today. The New York Times put out a review of this, which then led to another review, which is even more insane, and I want to look at it. But I just want to highlight one paragraph from the New York Times before I get to the other one. Jane Ward, the author, distinguishes straightness as a practice from straight culture, which is at the very heart of society's most disgraceful failures. I know, because you're one of them. It is not, as one particular joke goes, that straight people are not okay. What joke is she talking about? I'm serious, what popular joke? It is that heteronormativity creates a powerful, privileged form of sexuality against which historically and currently all other forms are compared. Okay, here we go. In examining the pressure to partner with the opposite gender, we find the extortions of capitalism, the misogyny of violence against women, and the racist and xenophobic erasure of non-white families and homophobic hatreds. It pervades so much of everyday life. You always gotta love with these like woke authors, that casual racism they just shove in there real quick. Look at this. The racist and xenophobic erasure of non-white families? By being straight? Wait, what? Because remember guys, white people, according to the left, created everything and thought of every concept that makes the world great, transcending just human beings. Because there's no other cultures that are heteronormative or have nuclear family structures. Clearly, your white supremacy is showing there. You check that privilege. Other generic buzzword. Okay, here we go. I know it's kind of an out there source for this one, but when I was researching this book, because I just wanted to know what the hell, I read through this and this was kind of funny. Unveiling the tragedy of heterosexuality. When was the last time a straight woman complained to you about cis-het men? I had to look up that word because I have no clue what that means. Apparently they combined cisgender and heterosexual into one word. Because every day with these people, it's a new word or a changed definition. Anyway, I can count 4 times this week motivated by a mediocre Bumble date, a jealous boyfriend, a growing emu with dating apps, and a male partner who doesn't do his share of the housework. Okay, one, let me ask you this right now. Do feminist far-left women date right-wing or moderate men? No, they don't. I live in California, I can tell you that. They date left-wing, radical left, or Bernie bro type men. So what I'm getting at is this woman dating these other women that are just complaining. Tell you what you need to know. Also, I'm sick of this. Doesn't do his share of the housework. Okay, I need to say this to women real quick. If you have a mutually agreed relationship, say you have a traditional relationship, right? So the man goes to work his 8 to 10 hours a day, right? Woman's gonna stay home and take care of the kids and the housework. Women, if the men come home from that, and then you expect them to do half of the housework, that's not a 50-50 relationship. That's a 75-25 relationship. Especially considering house care has been getting easier and easier with the invention of things like dishwashers and laundry machines. These laments often end with a comment like, ugh, if only I were into women. Now in the so-called fourth wave of feminism, straight women tend to reject victim status and almost every other concept except one, love lives. Yes, you guys, fourth wave feminists reject ever being a victim, alright? They are strong and powerful and never play victim cards ever. They're self-actualizing by the day, victims of their own straightness by night, okay? In her new book, The Tragedy of Heterosexuality, gender and sexuality studies professor Jane Ward, so a professional, useless person, explains why the world's most glorified relationship is often a miserable one. Many of her conclusions won't come as a surprise to queer readers, but can help us understand the predicament facing our straight friends, or even our own normative desires. These people speak so weird. As a bisexual cis white woman, of course, because this whole article I was reading it, this reeks of white woman. Really, look up all these super, like, racist SJW books. They're all written by white women, too. Bill Burr did that joke the other day about the woke movement getting hijacked so fast by white women. It's one of the truest jokes I've seen in a long time. Anyway, I have 1 foot in and 1 foot out of this heteropatriarchal bog. I too like buzzwords. Okay, my first and most significant relationship was queer. After that relationship ended, I started dating men. I felt surprised and guilty at how comforting these scripted interactions were. But they began to feel automated, which made them boring. Maybe you're boring. You ever stop to think maybe you're a basic bitch? If all of your dates are scripted, maybe you're boring. In this primer on straight culture, okay, it's straight culture. It's not that she's boring. Everyone else is the problem. Word explains where these feelings come from. The book's dedication is even addressed to straight women. May you find your way to have your sexual needs met without suffering so much. So is it about the relationship or about the sex? Because you're making it sound like it's about sex. Which, as you go on, they complain that that's all men want relationships for. Some parts later on, it almost feels like they're arguing for straight conversion therapy. Alright, jumping ahead a little bit, Ward begins by challenging the straightness as a site of security and queerness as suffering, while mainstream LGBT discourse dominated by gay white men has historically promoted biological, born-this-way theories of queerness. Ooh, you better be careful going this territory, that sounds kinda homophobic. The idea of choosing one's own sexuality is central in lesbian feminist discourse. You're just putting buzzwords together. But I like how they go back to the idea of choosing one's own sexuality. Congratulations, you just rejected I was born this way. So are you proving the religious people right? Sort of like we go full circle, the way that on college campuses, they were so woke and opposed to racism and white supremacy, they became the racist white supremacists. Ward doesn't advocate for political lesbianism. These are just buzzwords. You're just putting words together. I had to look at the article they said, and it sent me to this thing in The Guardian. It says, My sexual revolution. 30 years ago, a group of radical women began arguing all feminists should be lesbians. Many people disagreed, but the idea changed Julie's life. Again, they went back to, you're not born gay, it's a choice. Okay, look at this. This is really revealing. This book is a loving lesbian intervention, a defamiliarized look at what we've come to expect from heterosexuality. I have noted it appears to be perfectly acceptable for straight couples to share few interests, to belittle or infantilize each other, or to willingly segregate themselves during important moments. Another? You mean from another? These women are really revealing their own experiences with men like this. And like I said, if you grow up in a very liberal area, like I do, you'll notice these very liberal, far leftist women, whatever, they will not date even moderate men. They want other men that are Democrat or left in that. Straight women have made a running joke of our indifference towards penises, and straight men seem to desire women's bodies only very provisionally, depending on their size, youth, and hairiness. Interesting OkCupid study. Turns out when it comes to looks, women are more shallow than men. By a ratio of about 30%. I'm sorry, this is just the way it is. Men don't know how women think. Women don't know how men think. I'm saying you can get the general idea, but it's very clear that these are women who think they know how men think and operate. Jumping ahead a little bit, talking about self-help books and like rom-coms. These books and movies reinforce the myth that men and women's innate differences, reconfiguring it as a scientific fact or even a field of study. Wow, look, the feminists are erasing femininity again. Shocker. It's gone full circle. They oppose racism so much they became racists. They oppose homophobia so much that they're displaying homophobia. And they're so in favor of women and femininity that they're erasing them and just saying men and women are the same. 3 woke, 5 me. Alright, reconfiguring it as a scientific fact and even field of study. Is she really just shitting on the science of men and women are innately different? But remember, it's the right that hates science. Gender difference is used to sell things, to legitimize wage gaps, to extort domestic labor from women. Wait, are you talking about sex or gender? Because right now it sounds like you're using them interchangeably. Wow, how very sexist of you, and transphobic of you. sorry, continue. Extort domestic labor from women and to justify sexual violence. Okay, first of all, no. And this is how you know this article reeks of white woman. Imagine being so privileged. You think you should be paid to clean your own house. Remember, women are truly oppressed in America. Okay, according to Ward, straight culture is the romantic arm of misogyny, wherein the delicate coexistence of hate and love, the slap and kiss, would come to represent the heteroerotic? You mean like 50 Shades of Grey, which was overwhelmingly popular with women? Because men aren't buying these things. Look at this. Mutual dislike and violence are not an unfortunate bug in the heteropatriarchal system. They're fundamental to it. So fundamental, in fact, that self-help writers ground their solutions in heterosexual disappointment in the very difference myth that causes it. What? Okay. It really makes it sound like you're just trying to say men and women naturally hate each other. Again, I don't see conservative women saying this. I don't see moderate women saying this. It's always these far lefty women, which makes you again question, who are they dating? So they go in to talk about the problems with like rom-coms and self-help books, but I had to throw this in here because this line at the bottom just sounded funny. Meanwhile, by focusing on gender as the predominant type of difference, straight people fail to recognize the other types of difference. Race, class, ability, trans, cis identity. Okay, let me rephrase that for you. They fail to recognize other types of differences. Buzzword, 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 algorithm, give me money. Okay, and here we go. We gotta get another buzzword here, because we gotta do well in the algorithm. Like many American traditions, the relationship self-help genre was born out of white supremacy. I love it. The earliest American marriage guides were intended to ensure white women's marital happiness, and in turn, their race loyalty. What the fuck are you talking about? Okay. Meanwhile, racist ideas about the black woman's inordinate strength have cast her as the archetypal survivor of heterosexuality. What are you talking about? Okay, look at this. They're talking about some film, I'm assuming rom-com, with Beyonce in it, that I've never seen or heard of, and I'm not going to care to watch it, but I love this. Words suggest that Beyonce's performance of resilience is yet another example of white women's preoccupation with fixing relationships with individual men, rather than identifying hetero norms and heteromasculinity themselves as fundamental problems. Do you see why? This is why wokeness doesn't sell. Rom-coms sell to women, and it's always the same archetype. Oh, I'm gonna fix him up, and it's gonna be great, and it's gonna be boring, and I'm gonna put myself to sleep. Women like it. Now imagine going in there and then in trying to convince the man to be with her, she instead goes, you know what? Screw this. We're going to tear down heterosexual norms, liberate women, and buzzword, buzzword, buzzword. Do you think nobody watches that? Nobody goes to watch these things. This is why woke media fails. Okay, Ward's solution, rather than advocating for the queering of straightness, is for straight men to become more straight. I don't even know what the fuck that means. Are you saying men should be more metrosexual? We have a word for it. It's called metrosexual. Kind of big in the 2000s. Nobody liked it. That's why it died. And what does it mean straight men to become more straight? They claim to put their politics where their lust is, to desire women humanely, to fuck and be feminist comrades at the same time. What? Yeah, the problem is, people will tend to pair up with people they tend to politically agree with. Ideally, you find people with common values. Now, you can be on the right and have common values and end goals in a relationship as someone who's like a liberal woman. But I'm sorry, these far left women and like your standard Republican, conservative, libertarian, they fundamentally do not have the same end goals. So they tend to separate. And I love this when they say to desire women humanely. Again, who are these lefty women hanging out with or hooking up with? Lefty men. It is a well-known stereotype that lefty men are pencil-necked creeps who hang around women just to get sex with them. This is why it happens so often that once they do all their virtue signaling as a good little ally and then they don't get any because it's not attractive to be a little bitch boy, they get angry and then grope women because they feel like they're owed something. And this is what I mean by saying, look at who they hang out with, and then this article makes a lot more sense because you do not see moderate and to the right of moderate women going off on these unhinged rants about men. Generally speaking, before anyone sends me the Tommy Loren video, she calls this deep heterosexuality. Bro, I thought you didn't like this whole be more heterosexual thing. Deep heterosexuality sounds like a hardcore porn, I'm just saying. And this is, again, how you know it was written by a woman. Look at this. While this book is addressed and marketed towards straight women, it doesn't offer concrete course of action. This is why if you watch, like, Amazing Lucas' live stream, every time a woman calls, he goes, you have 10 seconds to get to the point. Because I'm like, only a woman could write an entire book about a problem and have no solution to the problem. Okay. I'm sorry. I had to go through that because I just wanted today to be a fun day. Nothing to get my blood pressure up. So, that's it. Have a good day. Be safe. Don't get shot.